To master any new science or technology, it's really important to build strong foundation for that. And it's absolutely true for programming as well. Knowing the basics of programming initially and then advancing your learning step by step will help you to build strong programming foundations, which will definitely help you on a long-term journey on programming. Hello, welcome to this course, Coding for Kids and Beginners, Laying Programming Foundations Using Python. My name is Ajit Jose and I'm a programmer with more than 10 years of experience in programming with world's leading technology companies. This is a short course containing less than 1.5 hours of video lectures, which is designed for children as well as adults, those who have no prior programming experience. Here you will be introduced to the basic concepts of programming by using the Python programming language. But this will definitely help you to learn any other programming language later on when you wanted to learn. Instead of learning everything about Python in this course, you will be learning only a very small part of the Python, but those are the ones which are the most basic fundamentals of programming. If you are a child or parent of a child who wanted to learn programming, or if you are an adult who wanted to learn programming, or if you are someone who doesn't have any experience in programming but just wanted to get a feel of it and see whether it will be something that you wanted to learn further, then this is the right course for you. And this course is not for you if you have prior programming experience and if you know the basics of programming. Inside the course, you will be learning about Python interactive mode, Python scripting mode, the concepts of using variables, the usage of numbers and strings in programming, and about the ways to get input from the user and show outputs to the user. Welcome to this course. Happy learning. Before we go on, please subscribe our YouTube channel for more videos and also visit our website at joseph.academy. Computer programming or coding is the process of writing code or programs to build up softwares that are executing in computers. Nowadays, not only computers are running programs, but almost every electronic device is running a program. To understand programming, think about a calculator. In a physical calculator device, say you wanted to find sum of two numbers. Then you will type those numbers, press the addition symbol and press the equal to symbol, then you will get the result. But have you ever thought about how do you get the result from the calculator when you do this operation? It is because there is a small program running in your calculator. The program is accepting input from you and it is giving output to you when you press the equal to symbol. This course is teaching you the fundamentals of programming by using Python language. Python is one of the most widely used and widely accepted programming language and it is easy to use as well. While doing programming in Python, there are two modes of programming, either an interactive mode or a scripting mode. In this course, you will be first learning about interactive mode and you will be introduced to the concepts of programming by using interactive mode. Then you will be shown how to move to the scripting mode and you will be learning more about Python in the actual usage model, which is the scripting mode. So that's the end of this session, and from next session onwards, you will be straight away going into programming fundamentals by using Python. You have seen what is programming in the previous session, and now we are straight away jumping into programming. So as you have seen earlier, there are two ways of doing programming in Python, either in an interactive mode or in a scripting mode. The actual way of doing Python programming is doing scripting mode, but before doing that, you will be introduced to the basics of programming by using an interactive mode. To do Python in interactive mode, you need to open a command shell in your computer. Based on the operating system of your computer, the way in which you open a command shell will vary, but here I will be showing how to open a command shell in a computer with a Windows operating system. And if your computer's operating system is different from this, you can see the note attached to this lecture to learn how to open a command shell. In a Windows PC, press the Windows button present at the bottom left corner of the screen and type CMD. Then you will see an app showing a command prompt and click on it. And here is your command prompt. Now I am maximizing this. Here I will be changing the font size to make it more visible for you. If you are comfortable with the size, you don't need to do this. To change the font size, right click on the top white bar and select properties and go to font and increase the font size to the desired whatever value you want. Now we are all set to do Python Interactive. To start Python Interactive programming, you need to type a command on this command shell, which is nothing but the Python. So I'm going to type like Python and press the enter key. And once you press the enter key, you are in Python Interactive mode. Now another way of doing the same thing is by opening the command shell that comes with the Python installation itself. To do that, press on the Windows key and search for Python. And here you can see that the Python app will come, and if you click on that, it will directly take you to this Python Interactive mode, which is same as typing a command Python in your normal command shell. So let me close this and use the previous one. Now we will be doing some Python operations in the interactive mode. The first thing we are going to do is to do some mathematical operation. So here we are going to use the Python as a simple calculator. Now let's do a simple addition operation. I'm going to add the numbers 3 and 2. To do that, I'm just adding 3 plus 2. And to see the results here, you just need to press the enter key in your keyboard. So you can see that the result is coming as 5. So this is something different from your normal calculator. In a physical calculator device, to see the output, after giving the inputs, you will be pressing the equal to symbol. But in programming, the equal to symbol is used for something else, which you will see in a while. And in an interactive mode, to execute any command, you need to press an enter key. Now let me do some more mathematical operation. 5 minus 2 equal 5 into 2. Which will be done, and 5 divided by 2, which will be 2.5. Now notice the symbols that is used in the keyboard. To do an addition operation, use the plus symbol. To do a subtraction operation, use the minus symbol. In order to do multiplication, there is no multiply symbol in your keyboard. You need to use the star symbol in the keyboard. Typically, these symbols will be on top of your numbers in your keyboard, and you might need to press the shift key along with the number key to type these symbols. And also notice that to do a division operation, you need to type a forward slash symbol. And another thing is, by default, when you do a division operation, the output will be coming along with the integer result and the fraction result. Remember that you can do any kind of mathematical operation. You can do with any big number. Let me just show some random big numbers multiplied with another big number, and here is the result. So that is the end of this lecture. Before moving into the next lecture, practice this in your computer. Open a command shell and type Python and press enter, and then you will be entering the Python interactive mode and do whatever mathematical operations you would like to do and see the results. In the previous lecture, you have seen how to open a command shell and enter into Python Interactive and do some basic mathematical operation or use the Python as a simple calculator. In this lecture, you will be introduced to a very important concept in programming, which is nothing but variables. To do that, let's open the Python Interactive. So I'm going to open the command shell. And here again, I have increased the font size to make it more visible. And next I'm going to enter into the Python Interactive by typing Python and pressing the enter key. Now I am in Python Interactive mode. Remember what you have done in the previous lecture? You have just used it as a calculator. Let's say just we are adding two numbers like 3 plus 2 and pressing the enter key, and you will get the result as 5. Now instead of 3 plus 2, let me just add some letters. Say for example, I am just adding A and B. A plus B. So before typing the enter key and seeing the result, just imagine what you will be seeing as a result when you add two letters together. So ideally you don't know the answer because there is no point in adding two letters together because you can only add two numbers together. Now let's press the enter key and see the result. So whatever you are seeing here is an error. So it's saying as name error, and in Python, if you are doing something wrong with the programming, you will get an error. So it's true with any programming language. In all programming languages, when you do programming, you have to follow certain set of rules, and if you are violating that, you will get an error instead of the correct output. Now imagine that A is holding a value 3 and B is holding a value 2. And if that is the case, when A and B are added together, you should ideally get an output as 5, because when 3 and 2 are added together, you will get output as 5. Now just watch what I am doing. I am just typing like A equal to 3 and press the enter key. So you are not seeing any result or any output here. What does this statement A equal to 3 means? It says assign a value 3 to a variable named A. Here you are using a variable with a name A and you are assigning a value 3 to this variable A. Remember in the previous session, I have told you that in programming, you will be using the equal to symbol not to see the output, but for something else. So in programming, the equal to symbol is used to assign a value to a variable. Now in this case, A is a variable and 3 is its value. And similarly, I am using another variable named B and assigning a different value. Say B equal to 2 and press the enter key. So once you do that, the variable named B will be holding a value 2. Now both the variables A and B are holding some values which are some numbers, and therefore you can add these variables together. Now let's do the same operation here, which is A plus B, and see the output. After typing A plus B and pressing the enter key, you will see the output as 5, which is nothing but 3 plus 2. So this is the concept of using a variable in a programming language. So a variable is used to hold a value, and after holding a value, you can do any kind of operation with that variable. Now again, I am doing some more mathematical operation with the same set of variables A and B. So let me do A minus B, which will be equal to 3 minus 2 and will be equal to 1, and A into B, and it will be equal to 6, and A divided by B, so it will be equal to 1.5. So in this lecture, we have introduced the concept of using a variable, and a variable is used to hold a value. The equal to symbol in programming is used to assign a variable with a value. Now you will be seeing more about variables in the coming session, and you will be using a lot of them in the programming as well. And before moving into the next lecture, just do whatever you have seen here. Use some variables to hold whatever values and do some mathematical operations with them in the Python Interactive. In the previous lecture, you have seen that a variable is something that is used to hold a value, and also you have used some variables to hold some values and add those variables together. Before moving on, here I am going to explain the usage of variables a little more, because it's important to understand while you do programming. Earlier you were typing like A equal to 3 and enter, B equal to 2 and enter, A plus B will be equal to 5. So after assigning any variable with a value, say after assigning A equal to 3, if you want to see the value of the variable, you just need to type the variable name and press the enter key. So if I am just typing like A and pressing the enter key, you will be getting an output as 3. It is because you have already assigned this variable named A with the value 3. Now what happens if you are just trying a variable that you haven't assigned any value? So I am just typing C and pressing enter. Then you will get an error. But if you assign a value to this variable C, say C equal to 6, and then press C and enter, you will see the value of the variable. The next thing is about the variable names. The variable names can be consist of any letters or alphabets in English, and any numbers and any special characters. So let's look into them in detail. You can assign a equal to 15 and also you can assign age equal to 15. So here both a and age are two different variables and both are holding the same number 15. As you have seen here, here you are using 3 letters or 3 alphabets in this variable. So this is a single variable, age or age is a single variable and it's holding a value 15. Like this, you can give whatever name you wanted to give to a variable, like number equal to some number, then say price is equal to 150 and so on. Now the next point is the variable name can consist of any alphabet or any letter. That need not be a lowercase letter. It can be an uppercase or a mix of lowercase and uppercase. Say for example, I am using a variable named count and assigning it with some value, say 5. Now again I am using another variable with the same name count, but here I have typed it as different. The first letter was typed as an uppercase letter or a capital letter and assigning with a different value. These two variables, that is the lowercase one and the one which is starting with an uppercase letter C, are both different variables, and just try it as yourself. The first one will be giving you output as 5 and the second one will be giving an output as 6. One more example, I am typing all the letters in capital and assigning with a different value, and these three are three different variables. Now the next point is the variable name can consist of numbers as well. You can use numbers along with letters in a variable. So for example, I am using age is equal to 50, age 1 is equal to some different value, age 2 is equal to some different value, and age 20 is equal to some different value, and so on. So it's possible to add numbers to the variables. Now, even though you are allowed to use numbers within the variable names, you cannot start the variable name with a number. So for example, if you are giving the variable name like 1 age equal to some number and pressing the enter key, you will get an error because you cannot start the variable name with a number. The first character in the variable name should be always a letter or an alphabet. It can be a lowercase or uppercase alphabet. And finally, it is also possible to add special characters to variable names. One of the most commonly used special characters within the variable name is the underscore character. So for example, I am typing like my underscore age equal to some value. So here my underscore age is variable name and I have used the underscore special characters within the variable name. In a typical keyword, the underscore character will be typed by pressing the shift key along with the minus symbol, but it might vary depending on your keyboard. Most widely in programming, the underscore character is used to give meaningful name to the variables. So this is all about the variable namings, and you have seen that you can use any alphabet which is either lowercase or uppercase or a combination of both, and any numbers and any special characters within the variable names, and also it should always start with any alphabets or any letters. Now the final takeaway from this lecture is, even though you are allowed to use capital letters in the variable names, typically you will be using only small letters or lowercase letters in your variable names. And when necessary, use the underscore character to make the variable name as more readable or more sensible. So here is my final example. Underscore number equal to 1. Second underscore number equal to 2. Third underscore number equal to 3. And finally, I am adding all these numbers together. First underscore number plus second underscore number plus third underscore number and typing the enter key. So you'll be getting the output of 6. Here I was just illustrating that you can give any name to a variable and try to use some meaningful name to the variable when you do actual programming in the coming sessions. In the last lecture, you have learned about variables in computer programming. In this lecture, you'll be learning about strings. Before learning about strings, let's see what's the meaning of the English word string. The word string has multiple meanings. It can be a code or a thread, or it could be something related to music. If you look at the fifth meaning, it says string is a linear sequence of symbols. In computer programming, this is the meaning of the word string. So it is a linear sequence of symbols or characters. Now the next question is, what is a character? In simple words, in computer programming, a character is any symbol that is present in your keyboard. If you look at the keyboard, you will see all the English alphabets from A to Z. Then you will see numbers from 1 to 9 and 0. And you will see a lot of special characters like @ hash, dollar, etc. Typically, these will be pressed by pressing the shift key along with this number. And as we said earlier, any key in your keyboard can be considered as a character. A string is a set of characters. When you put one or more characters together, it will be a string. So it can be a single word, it can be a single character, it could be a meaningful word, it could be a meaningless word, or anything. Now let's see, how do we represent a string in Python programming? Let me open the command shell and go to Python Interactive. Now we are going to write a string into this Python program. To represent a string in computer programming, it has to be enclosed within a set of double quotes. And this is a double quote in a keyboard. And if your keyboard layout looking similar to this picture, you can press the double quotes by pressing the shift and this button. I'm putting a double quotes and I'm writing a string as hello world. And I'm pressing the enter key. So it will be printing hello world. Here in this Python interactive shell, we have represented a string which is hello world, and it is nothing but a set of English characters. So let me type few more examples just to make it clear for you. I'm just typing a double quotes. My name is Christopher, and ending with a double quotes and pressing the enter key. So here it is a string. I'm writing another string. How are you? Next, let's give a meaningless string. So I'm just typing some random alphabets and strings and ending with a double quotes. This is again a string. For the time being, remember that you can't give a double quotes within a string, because the double quotes is the symbol which is identifying a string by putting it in the beginning and the end of the string. Now, note that in Python programming alone, instead of double quotes, you can use a set of single quotes as well to represent a string. Say for example, if I am writing double quotes, hello world, ending with double quotes, or if I am writing single quotes, hello world, ending with a single quotes, both are the same string, but you cannot start with the double quotes and end with a single quotes, or start with a single quotes and end with a double quotes. But as a beginner, I would recommend you to use only double quotes to represent a string, because that is the most widely used form of string representation in almost every programming language. And the single quotes might not work in other programming languages, and when you start, you can start with a pair of double quotes to represent a string. In the previous lecture, when you learned about variable, you used variables to hold a number. Say you are using a variable named age to hold your age. So I'm typing age is equal to 15 and pressing the enter key. And when you type age, it will display the value of the variable age, which will be nothing but 15. In the same way, you can use variables to hold strings as well. To hold a string, you just need to assign that variable with that string. As an example, I'm using a variable named name, and I'm assigning a string to that variable. Let's say we are putting some name. To represent a string, I need to start the string content with the double quotes and write the string. So I'm just writing Christopher and end it with another semicolon and press the enter key. So at this point, the variable named name will be holding this string valued Christopher. So let's just display the content of the variable named name. Name, enter. So it will display the string Christopher. So note the difference here. When a number was displayed or when a number was given as the output, it was just putting it as a number 15. But when a string was displayed in the output, it was displayed with a set of single quotes. Now let's use few more variables to hold some strings. Greetings is equal to hello world, which is starting and ending with a set of double quotes. And if you type greetings and press enter, it will display hello world. So again notice that whatever was there between the set of double quotes, that is starting from here, ending with this exclamatory mark, was displayed here, or that is the string here. And let me show one more interesting thing. So I'm just using a variable named A1 and I'm assigning with some numbers, say 15. And when you type A1 and press enter, it will display the value of the variable which is 15. And if I am using another variable, say A2 equal to, again I'm writing as 15 here, but at this time I'm writing it as a string. So I'm using a set of double quotes to write 15. Starting with the double quotes, I'm writing 15 and ending with the double quotes. So A2 will be a string 50. Now if you type A2 and press enter, again you will see the output 50. But you should notice that both these variables, that is A1 and A2, are not holding the same value. The variable named A1 is holding a number 15. The variable named A2 is holding a value which is a string 15. So both are different. Even though when it is displayed they look similar. One is a number and second one is a string. This will be more clear for you when you do actual programming and when you do some operations with these variables in the coming sessions. And finally, don't confuse a string with a sentence in English. In computer programming, a string is a blind set of characters that is formed by whatever is coming between a pair of semicolons. It can consist of a single character like A, or it can consist of multiple characters or multiple words, A folks, or it can consist of multiple sentences like this, or it can even be an empty string without anything in that, just by starting with a semicolon, giving nothing else and ending with a semicolon. Now open your command shell, go to Python Interactive and type some strings and also use some variables to hold this string and display those strings by typing the name of these variables. You can write your names, your family member's name, or whatever you would like to display. Always remember that to represent a string, you need to start and end it with a set of double quotes. Also, don't misunderstand a string with a sentence. You can give any number of sentences within a string, or the string can be as short as a single character, or it can be even an empty string without anything in that. Now I will be introducing two terms to you which is related to computer programming. They are the programmer and the user. Programmer is the person who is writing the actual computer program or who is doing the coding. And a user is a person who is using that computer program written by a programmer. A programmer will write a computer program and he will compile it, he will fix all the issues and errors in it, then he will give it to the user and the user will use it for his own purpose. And while doing programming, the programmer itself will act as a user also in order to check the correctness of his program. That means the programmer will run his own program and he will see whether the program is working correctly as intended. Then he will release the program to the user and the user will use it. Now I am introducing two more terms for you, which are bug and debugging. In computer programming, the term bug is used to refer some errors or issues in the program. So while you write the program, It is quite natural that you will make some mistakes, and those mistakes or errors are called as bugs in the program. And debugging is the process of finding out the cause of the error and fixing it. So when there is an error, first you will analyze in which part of the program from the error comes and what is the cause. And this process is called as debugging. After debugging or root causing the error, then you will fix the bug, and again you will rerun the program to see if there are no more errors. Or finally, when there are no more errors or no more bugs, then you will release the program to the user and the user will use the program. In short, a programmer is the person who is writing the program. After writing the program, he will compile and execute the program to see if the program is working correctly. And if the program is working correctly, he will give the program to the user and the user will use it. A bug is an error in the program, and debugging is the process of finding out the cause of the error or root causing the error. In the previous lecture, you have learned about variables and strings, and you are doing your programming all in Python interactive mode. As I said initially, in Python, there are two modes of programming, which are interactive mode and scripting mode. Till now, you are only doing interactive mode, but that is not the actual way of doing programming. In the correct usage model, you will be using scripting mode. Scripting mode is nothing but you write your program into a file and save that file and then execute that file. This is how all the big programs and all the big projects are implemented. Therefore, from now onwards, you will be switching from Python interactive mode to Python scripting mode. So let's start it right now. To do Python in scripting mode, you need a text editor. A text editor is a software that helps you to edit the text, which is something like a Microsoft Word or a Google Doc, etc. But in case of programming, you will not be using the common text editors like an MS Word, but you will be using specialized text editors that is designed specifically for programming. There are many of them like Visual Studio, Notepad++, and lot more, but I will be using a text editor called Atom. Atom is a free open source text editor, and you can download it for free and install it. And if you're interested, you can refer the attached link to see how Atom can be installed in your computer. Or if you're familiar with some other text editors like Notepad++ or MS Visual Studio and so on, you can use them as well. Before starting actual coding, let's create a directory where you will save all of your programming files. You can create it in anywhere in your computer, but for easiness, let's create it in the desktop. So in the desktop, I'm creating a new folder and give some name. So let me give my Python programs. And this is where I'm going to save all of my programming files. Now I am opening Atom text editor. While installing Atom, it should have created a shortcut in the desktop. Otherwise, you can type on the Windows key and search for Atom and click on the app. Now for the first time when Atom is opening, you'll be seeing a lot of windows. For easiness, the first thing you can do is set a project folder. For that, click on the file menu, click add project folder and browse to the desktop and the directory that you have created. Here I am going to select the directory my Python programs and click on select folder. So once you do that, the next time when you open Atom, this will be coming up here and all the files in this directory can be seen here. Now the next thing is open a new file and save it as a Python file. For that, again click on the file menu and click on new file. So a new file will come with Untitled. Save the file with some names. So let me save it by again selecting file and save, or alternatively you can press the keyboard shortcuts like Ctrl+S in Windows or the relevant shortcuts in other operating systems. So it will ask for the name. In desktop my Python program, I'm going to save this file with the name program1. And the next important thing is don't just leave it like that. you have to explicitly give an extension to this file as a Python file. So it has to be a .py file. You should always give it like .py as the extension. And this is how a file is identified as a Python executable file. Now click on save. You can see that the name of the file have been changed here, like program1.py. So there might be multiple tabs opening up along with that when it is opened for the first time, or it might open a lot of settings and all. You can close all of them by clicking on the appropriate tab close button like this. Again, I'm going to close another unwanted tab. Now only my program is seeing here. Now you are all ready to go to Python scripting mode. So you have created a file and saved it as a .py file and thus made it as a Python executable file. The next thing that you need to do here is write some program or code here and execute this file. In the previous lecture, you have seen how to save a file as a Python executable file by giving a .py extension. And let's continue to add some code or program to this file. Now I'm going to add a simple program that you have already done in the interactive mode. I'm just using two variables a and b and assigning them with some values and just adding them. So I'm going to write like a is equal to 10, press an enter and going into the next line. Then b is equal to 5 and press enter. Next I'm going to add a and b by typing a plus b. In Atom, while you type, sometimes you will get this automatic suggestions, and if they are not relevant for you, just ignore them. And the next thing that you need to do is save this file and execute this file. So again, you have made some changes to the file from the initial state, so therefore you should always save your file before you execute it. I'm going to save either by pressing the Ctrl+S or the appropriate keyword shortcuts, or alternatively you can save it by again selecting file and save. So you have added some code to your Python file and saved it as well. The next step is execute this file. Unlike the Python interactive, when you do in scripting mode, first you will write the program and save it, and then you need to specifically execute that file by running the Python command. For that, again you need to open the command terminal. Click on the Windows, press CMD, open the command prompt, and here we are. Previously, we used to type Python to enter into Python interactive mode like Python and do some operations. But in this case, we are not going to do that. And if you want to come back from the Python to the previous state or the normal command shell prompt, you can always give an exit command by typing exit with a pair of brackets and press the enter key. But simply don't do anything, just be in a state when it is opened up. The next thing that you need to do is to browse to the directory that you have created for saving your files. I have saved my directory in the desktop itself, and therefore it's easy for me to browse through. I'm going to change directory with cd command, cd. Then I know the desktop is starting with a capital D, so I'm typing a capital D and pressing the tab button on the keyboard. It will automatically suggest me the desktop and press the enter key. Again, you need to go into the directory within desktop, which is my Python programs. So I'm going to type like cd space my and press the tab button. So it will automatically suggest me my Python programs and press enter key. Now I am within the directory where I have saved all the files. If you have created your directory not on the desktop but somewhere else, you have to browse through that and go to the directory. Now this might be something that you wanted to do every time when you open a command shell to execute a program. Once you close this command prompt and open a new one, you will be again back to your normal user directory. Let me show you that. I'm going to close it, and again I'm going to open command shell by pressing Windows and CMD. See that you are back into your normal user directory. So again I have to do cd desktop and again cd into my Python programs. So you have to do this every time when you close and open your command shell. All set. Now you are ready to execute a Python file. To execute the Python file, again you will type the same command, which is Python, but this time you will be giving the file name along with the Python. So this is how you do this. Type Python and next type the name of the Python file that you have created. In this case it is program1. So I'm going to type program, and if you press the tab it will display you some suggestions. Python program1.py. So previously, to enter into the interactive mode, you are just typing the Python command without any file name or argument. But to execute a file in Python, always type like Python, the file name, and always the file name should be ending with an extension of .py. Now press enter key and your Python program will be executed. When the program is executing, you will be seeing the outputs here itself. But this time we are not seeing any output here. And why we are not seeing any output, we will see it in the next lecture. In the previous lecture, you have opened a command shell and gone into the directory where you have saved your Python program, and you have executed the Python program by typing like Python, the file name. And this was the content of the file program1. In the first line you are assigning a variable named a with a value 10, and the second line you are assigning a variable b with value 5, and the third line you are adding a and b. But as we have seen, you are not seeing any output here while you execute the program. Let me execute again and show you. So you are not seeing any output. Ideally you should see an output of 5. The reason you are not seeing an output here is, unlike interactive mode, in Python scripting mode, the output will not be displayed by default. To see the output, you have to explicitly ask to display the output by adding a print statement. So this is how you add a print statement in a program. You just type print a bracket, and whatever you wanted to print, add within the bracket and end the bracket and save it. We will discuss more about the print statement in a while, but for now, let's save this file and execute it. Again, I'm going to execute Python program1. Typically, if you press the up arrow in a keyword, you will see the previous commands that you have executed. Or otherwise, you can again type Python space program1.py. And now I'm going to press the enter key, and then the program will be executed, and let's see what is the output. This time you have seen an output as 15, which is what you are expecting as the sum of 5 and 10. So when we added a print statement to the program, you have seen an output, and without a print, the output was not coming up. Now in the next session, you will learn more about the print statements. In the previous lecture, you have seen about the print statement, and you know that a print statement is needed to see the output when you execute program in scripting mode. In this lecture, you will learn more about the print statement. Let me open Atom and close everything. Either you can take a new file and write, or just delete everything from your previous file and start writing. Now, if in case you are not seeing your project folder after opening Atom, you can always open it by clicking the file menu and either reopen the project, or by choosing add project folder. Before going into the programming, here I'm just going to increase the font size just to make it easy for you to read. And if you want, you can just do this. Otherwise, just continue with the default font size. For that, click on File, click on Settings, then click on Editor and increase the font size to whatever value you like. Save. Now you are seeing big fonts. Alright, now I'm closing the settings and going back to the program. So here is my scripting file. Now I'm going to show more usage of print statement. First, let's write a simple string to the output using the print statement, which is nothing but the hello world. Print within the bracket, give the string hello world. A string should always start and end with a set of double quotes. And within those set of double quotes, write your string which is hello world. Now save the file and execute it. And before that, you might have noticed that sometimes in Atom, when you type something, some automatic suggestions will come. Something like when you type a left indented bracket, the pair of the same bracket will be typed automatically, or when you type one double quotes, the other one will come by default, and so on. And if they are not useful, just delete them and continue. But finally make sure that your syntax is correct. Now let me execute this script. I have to go to the directory where I have saved the folder and execute it by calling Python followed by the file name with a space. So you can see that in the output it is printing as hello world, and also you might have seen that an empty line has come up, and it is because of the print statement. The first thing about the print is it will always add a new line after printing whatever is given to it. So in short, if you have two print statements, you will see the content of those prints in two different lines. Every time a print has completed, the output will go to the next line by default. The print is an inbuilt function in Python. So if you are not sure about what is a function, don't worry about it. Just imagine that the print is something that is coming along with Python, or that is built into the Python. To the print function, you can pass any number of arguments. So here we have only passed one string, which is hello world, but it is allowed to pass multiple strings or multiple variables or multiple values to print statement. If you are passing more than one string or one entity, they should be separated with a comma. So let me show you it how. So we are going to print the same hello world in a different way. This time we are going to make it as two strings. First string is your hello and second string is world. So I'm going to add print. The first string is hello, and after the string give a comma and give the second string. Second string is world. Notice that both strings are starting and ending with a set of double quotes. Now let me save this and see the output. You can see that there are two hello world outputs and both are exactly the same. Now go back to the program and see. Notice that you haven't given a space in between hello and world, but still a space is appearing in the output. It is because by default in a print statement, a space will be added after every argument. Different arguments to the print statement should be separated by commas. So therefore, whenever you see a comma, you will see a space by default in print statements. Let me show you this in a bit more detail. So let me just print few alphabets. I'm going to write like different alphabets separated by commas. A, comma, the next string is B, comma, the next string is C, comma, and the next string is D. And let's delete the first two print statements just to make it clear for you. Save and execute. You can see that A, B, C, D are printed, but a space is added after every argument in the print statement. Now, you should also understand that it doesn't matter whether you are giving a space outside of the string. Say for example, if I'm just going to copy and paste the whole line and modify it slightly. So I'm going to add a space after every comma here, but notice that they are not inside these strings. So within the string there is no space in between. I just added a space after the commas. Let's see whether they print differently. So I'm going to save and execute the program. But you can see that both outputs are same. There is only one space between them. The space that you had given outside of the string haven't come here. So in short, it doesn't matter whether you are giving a space after the first argument or in between arguments. So even if I put n number of spaces here and save and execute, the output will be the same. Now, if you really wanted to add more spaces in between the words, what you should do is you should add them into the string. I'm going to copy the first line again. Now I'm going to add a space after every alphabet, but this time these are added within the string. Notice that the string is started and ended with a set of double quotes and a space is added in between them. So here again I am adding and one more I am adding. And now if I execute them, the first two lines in the output should be same because these spaces doesn't count. But this space will count because it is coming within the string. So this string is printed as it is. Then before printing the next string, an additional space will be added as it is coming as a next argument, which is the property of the print statement by default. And let's see the output. So you can see that an additional space is coming in between when you add those spaces into the strings. So let me delete the last one. Then there is something that you should notice here. So as I said earlier, even if you add spaces in between the arguments, they won't be counted. They don't have any effect in the output. So you can write it in different way. Let me delete them. So the same print statement, you can write it this way without any space or with a space after every argument or even multiple spaces in between them. And there is no difference in the output as well. But there is a recommended way in which you have to practice from the very beginning, I would say. So whenever you give a next argument in the print statement, after the comma, give a single space and give the next argument. So it's a recommended coding practice, even though it doesn't have any difference in the output. And like that, there are many recommended ways of coding which doesn't make any difference in the output, but they will make the code more readable for a third person. And also it's recommended to not add extra spaces, just add a single space in between the arguments. And from now onwards, we will be following these practices. So we'll be adding a single space after the argument, even though it doesn't have any significance in the output. Now let me show you the usage of variables in print statement. I'm deleting everything. And here my intention is to just write a sentence like my name is say Anne and I am say 15 years old. So obviously you can write it like print and give the whole sentence as a single string like this. Now I am going to slightly modify this program. I wanted to assign the name of the person in a variable say n is equal to a string and next again I'm going to use another variable say age and I'm assigning it with a value equal to 15. And instead of directly printing these two, I wanted to print the same line by using these two variables. For that, let's see how you can do that. I'll be writing like print my name is. So that is a first string, and the next I'm going to write it as n, which is holding the name, and give a comma and give the next string as I am, and give the next argument as the variable age, and we haven't finished. We have to give one more argument to print this part, 15-year-old full stop. So for that I'm going to write years old and full stop. Now understand this a bit. So here this part of your string and this part of your string need to be replaced with appropriate variables, which are n and age. For that, first you'll be writing the first part of the string, which is my name is. Then instead of directly giving the name, we use the variable. So when a variable is given as an argument to the print statement, instead of printing its name, its value will be printed. So here you have assigned the variable named n with a value which is a string and therefore when n is printed by using the print statement, its value will be printed, which is nothing but the string and after that I am will be printed. And next again you are giving another variable with the name age, which is holding a value which is a number 15. And again, when a variable with a number is given as an argument to the print statement, the number will be displayed as you see it, which is nothing but 15. So the print function will print 15 here, and finally it will be printing years old. Also notice that we haven't given a space here after the is, because after every argument a space will be automatically added by the print statement by default, and thus we are skipping this space and this space. Now let's save this, run and see the output. So you can see that the first line is printed with the first print statement, which is printing the whole world as it is, and the second line was printed by using the second print statement, which was using variables to print the first again. And if we compare these two, we can see that a full stop in between this is missing. And think about how can you add a full stop here. So the best place to add the full stop will be just before I am, because you wanted to print it after printing the name. Now save and execute the program again. And you can see that a full stop is added. But as always, after printing an argument, a space will be added by default, and therefore you will be seeing an extra space here before the full stop after printing the name. There are ways to modify this still, but it's okay for the time being and we can ignore it. In the last lecture, you have learned about the print statement in detail, and next you will be learning about strings and numbers. Now I am going to write a simple program where I am assigning a variable named a1 with a value which is a number, say 5, and next I am going to use another variable, say a2, and here instead of directly giving it as number 5, here I am going to write it as string 5. So I will be writing it like a2 is equal to, within a set of double quotes I will be writing 5. In this lecture you will be seeing what is the difference between these two. So obviously the first one is a number and the second one is a string. Now if you print both of them using a print statement, let's see whether there will be any difference at all. So I'm going to write like print value of a1 is, then give a1, and again copy and paste and make value of a2 is a2. So you can see that both of them are printing the same output. Value of a1 is 5 and value of a2 is also 5. But the question is whether this variable a1 and a2 are the same or not. The answer is no, they are not same, because a1 is holding a number 5 and a2 is holding a string 5. To show you the difference more clearly, let me use two more variables here and add them together. So I'm going to use another set of variables named b1 and b2 and assign with a different set of values. Say b1 is equal to number 6 and b2 is equal to string 6. And let me print the same again here. Value of b1 is b1 and value of b2 is b2, and therefore both of them will be printing 6. And finally I'm going to write two more print statements like this. The first one is printing like the value of a1 plus b1 is, and followed by the actual addition of a1 plus b1, and the next print statement will print the value of a2 plus b2 like this. Now imagine what would be the output of these two. First you will be seeing two 5s, next you will be seeing two 6, and think about the output that is displayed by line number 11 and line number 12. Because 5 plus 6 is 11, do you expect both of these print statements will print 11 in the output? Let's see that. Save this and execute it. Value of a1 is 5, value of a2 is 5, value of b1 is 6, value of b2 is 6. Now, when you added a1 and b1 together, the output is coming as 11, and when you added a2 and b2 together, the output is coming like 56. Now here comes the difference between a string and a number. A1 and A2 are numbers, therefore when they were added, the actual numbers 5 and 6 were added together and the output will be equal to 11, which is printed by this line and shown in the output by this line. And the last line in the output, which is value of A2 plus B2, is coming as 56. It is because both the variables a2 and b2 were strings, and when they were added together, those two strings were just added together, or those two strings were just put together or concatenated. And that's the reason why this output value of a2 plus b2 is printing at 56, which is nothing but the string 5 and the string 6 added together. So it's clear that when you add two numbers, the actual numbers will be added. And when you add two strings, the actual strings will be concatenated or they will be put together. But what happens if you add a string and a number? So let's try it out. Here I am going to add a1 and b2. Note that a1 is a number and b2 is a string. And next I am adding a1 and b2 together. And let's see what's the output. Save this and execute it. You can see the same output as that of the previous case up to this point, but when the final print statement was executed, that is when you are adding a number and a string together, this was giving you an error. It's saying that unsupported operand type for plus, which is for int, and str. Str is nothing but a string. That means you cannot add a string and a number together. So you can add either two numbers or two integers together and two strings together, but you can't add a string and integer together. Obviously it makes sense as well, because what is there to give when you add a number to a string? When you add a string to a string, you can just put those strings together. When you add a number to a number, you can do the actual mathematical addition operation, but when you add a number and a string, there is no meaning in doing that. And in the same way, Python is also giving you an error when you add a number and string. Now before winding up, I wanted to show one more thing here in Python where you can convert a string to its corresponding number. So I'm going to clear the screen and go back to the program. So as you have seen here, you were getting an error when you had added a number and string together. Now let me use another variable, say C1. This time I'm going to convert the string b2 into a number. For that, you can just use an int keyword, int, within the bracket, give whatever string value you wanted to convert it to a number. So here I wanted to convert the value in the variable named b2, so I'm going to write like b2. When the int function is executed, it will be converting that string into the corresponding number and returning it. Therefore, the variable named C1 will be holding the actual number which is got converted by the string 6, which is nothing but the number 6. And instead of adding A1 and B2, let me just add A1 and C1. Don't forget to change in both places. Now save this and execute. So you can see that the value of A1 plus C1 is equal to 11 because C1 is holding a number which was assigned by converting the actual string in B2 by using the int function. Now to make this more clear for you, let me delete everything and show you one more set of example. Let me write A is equal to the string 5 and B is equal to the number 6. And if you write C is equal to A plus B, this will definitely give you an error because, as we said earlier, you cannot add a number and string together. Now, if in some situation, if you really wanted to do this, you can convert the string in the variable A into a number by using the int function. I will write it like int, within the bracket, I'll give A. Now there shouldn't be an error, and if you really wanted to see the output, just print C. Save and execute. You can see that the value of C is 11. Now finally, this can be done in many different ways. It's possible to overwrite the value of the variable at any point in time in the program. Whatever is executed at the very last time, that will be the value of A. So here, if I am writing like A is equal to int of A, and I'm just adding A plus B, and assigning it to C, this will also work, and it shouldn't give you any error because you are overwriting the same variable A with the converted number value of its previous string 5. Now let me save this and execute and show you. You can see that there are no errors in the output. In this lecture, you have learned about the difference between a number and the string, and also you have learned that how to convert a string value to its number by using the int function. And this is quite useful when you accept some input from the user and you wanted to get it as a number, which you will learn in the coming session. In the previous lectures, you have seen how to display an output to a user in the scripting mode by using the print function. Now you are going to learn something similar to a print function, but before that, have a look at the program that you have written earlier. In this program, I was displaying like my name is Anne and I am 15 years old. And later I modified the same program by using two variables n and age to hold the name and age. And this was the output that you have seen when you execute the program. In a real programming world, the programmer will write a program, compile, debug and finish the program. Then sure, he will give the program to the user. And thereafter, the user will be continuously using the computer program for their purpose. Assume that you are the programmer and this is the program that you are giving to the user. It doesn't make any sense to display your name and age, but still assume that you are writing this program and you are giving this program to the user. When that is happening, the user will not be able to see or edit the content of the program. That means the user won't be able to see what is inside the program, or the user will not be edit what is inside the program. The only thing that the user can do is just go and execute the program. You will give the program in a file, but that file will not be a readable file. It will be an encoded file. Even if the user opened the file, he will not see anything like this. It will be just some random numbers. In this example, when the user executes this program, he will always see the same name and age that you have hard coded here or that you have written here in the program. Even though you are using variables, the variable value was assigned directly in the program, and in the actual programming mode, you wanted to change it in such a way that the user should be able to write his name and write his age, then display his name and his age. But as we said earlier, the user will not be able to edit the actual program. Therefore, there should be a way to accept input from the user into the program. And in this lecture, you are going to learn that. In order to accept input from the user, you have to use the input function in Python. This is how you use an input function. Before that, let me delete the first line because we don't want it anymore. And instead of n is equal to an, here you should get the name that the user have entered. And instead of age is equal to 15, again here you should get the input from the user. And finally, you will have to display like my name is N and I am -year-old age. This is how you use the input function. N is equal to input and with a pair of bracket. And again age is equal to input and with a pair of bracket. Save. And before executing that, just understand that when the input function is executed in the program will wait until the user have pressed the enter key in the keyboard. Also, it will return everything that the user have entered before pressing the enter key. To make it more clear for you, first let's accept only one input from the user. So I'm going to comment this line. In Python, you can comment a line by adding a hash symbol at the beginning of the line. So a commented line is a line that is not executed in the program, but still you can write it in the program or keep it in the program. You can assume that that line itself is not present or it is equivalent to deleting the line. But comments are very helpful to add meaningful messages and sometimes temporarily disable some part of the code as well. Again, I'm going to comment the actual output and I'm going to print only name for the time being. My name is N. Now in this program there are only two lines, N is equal to input and print my name is N. And let's save this program and execute and see what happens. I'm going to execute the program. So you can see that nothing is displayed in the output. So the first line itself in the program is an input. So when that line is executed, Python is seeing an input function and therefore it will wait at that point until the user have pressed an enter key, and also it will return everything that the user have typed before he or she have pressed the enter key. Therefore the user can type his name. Say for example, I'm entering Margaret, and then he or she have to press the enter key in order for the program to continue. So when the user is pressing the enter key, the input function will return whatever the user have entered except the last enter key. So I'm pressing the enter key. So you can see that the output is printing like my name is Margaret. Now I am enabling the whole program by uncommenting this and deleting this one. This time the user should be able to enter two inputs. First is name and next is age, and should be able to see the name and age. So let's save and execute this again. So first it is waiting for the name. Let me give some name. And after that, the next line is again another input function. Therefore, when it is executed, the program will again wait for the user to enter something and press the enter key. This time the user can enter her age, say 14, and press the enter key, and then the output will be displayed with the whatever values the user have entered. While executing this program, you might have noticed a problem with this code. Initially, when the program is executing, it is just waiting for something, and since the user doesn't have access to the program code, when the user will be executing, he or she doesn't know what need to be done. So therefore, Ideally, you should give a message to the user to do some action. So here first, if you are printing like, hey user, enter your name. And after getting the name, again you have to give a message to the user like, hey user, now enter your age. And then you can display the output. So let's complete this execution with some random values. And go back to the program and modify it slightly. Initially, just before waiting for the input, you should display a message to the user to do some action like enter your name. You can simply do it by using the print function. So print enter your name and then wait for an input from the user. After that, after getting the input from the user, again print like enter your age. Then the user will type his age and press enter key. Then the final string will be displayed with the values that the user have entered. And now let's save and execute the program. Clear it. So this time when the program is executed, first it is displaying the message that you have given like enter your name. So I can give any name here. So Annie. And next it is asking to enter your age. So I can give the age 16 and it's displaying the output with the name and age that the user have entered. Therefore, ideally, you should always give an information or indication to the user to do some action before waiting for an input from the user by using the input function. Otherwise, the program will just wait there and the person who is using the program or the user will not know what to do at that point. Finally, these two steps can be done together in input function. In order to display some message to the user while waiting for an input, you don't need to use a print statement before that. You can do it in a single line by passing the string as an argument to the input function. So here is how we do that. So I am going to pass the same string that I have printed by using the print statement here and pass an argument to the input function and delete this print. Again, I'm going to do the same thing for the next input and delete this print. And this will do exactly the same that you have done previously. When a string argument is passed to the input function, it will display that argument first in the output and then it will wait for the input from the user. So it is equivalent to writing a print statement before the line where the input function is written. So let's save and execute this. It is displaying the string that is passed into the input function, but there is a slight difference with the previous case where you use the print. When you use the print, the output was going to the next line by default. Now here it is waiting in the same line. So here you have to type the name again. And next in the second line, again it was an input function. So it's displaying the argument to the input function and waiting for the user input. Then user can give the input. So I'm going to give the same input here. So it's displaying the output correctly. When the argument to the input function is displayed, it will not go to the next line like the print function. Therefore, at the end of your string in the input function, you can give a space to make it more readable for the user. Probably you can give a space, give a colon and give another space. This whole string is displayed first, then whatever the user have entered will be coming only after this. Again, I'm going to modify this and save. Now if I am executing, so you can see that now when the user is typing the input, it will be more readable. And therefore, don't forget to add a space at the end of the string in the input string so that it is displayed nicely in the user interface. In the previous lecture, you have learned how to accept an input from the user by using the input function in Python. Here again, you will learn more about input function. Before that, first let's write a simple program to accept two numbers from the user and display their sum in the output. So here is my program. N1 is equal to input and give an indication message to the user, something like enter your first number and give a nice ending space. And in the same way, accept the second number from the user as well. Like N2 is equal to enter your second number. Probably you can use another variable like sum is equal to N1 plus N2. Then you can display the output using the print function. Print sum of N1 and N2 is N1 and N2 is, then display the sum. Save this. Let's see what's coming in the output. Clear. Execute it. The message in the first input function has come like enter your first number. So I'm going to enter like 5 and press the enter. Next, enter your second number. Let me enter 6 and press the enter. Now you are expecting an output of 11. You will be expecting a message like sum of 5 and 6 is 11. And let's see what is coming. You can see that sum of 5 and 6 is 56. And now think how this 56 came up. Remember in one of the previous programs where you have learned about strings and numbers, when you added a string 5 and string 6, the output was coming like 56 because it will just concatenate or put together the strings when two strings are added. That is what is exactly happening here. Or in other words, when you use the input function to get some input from the user, it will always return the user input as a string, not as a number. So in this example, N1 and N2 will be always a string, not a number. If you wanted to take the input as a number and not as a string, you have to convert that string into the number by using the int function that you have learned previously. So let me modify this program to display it correctly. Probably I can use another set of variable like m1 is equal to int of n1 and m2 is equal to int of n2, and instead of adding n1 and n2, just add m1 and m2. And this time let's see the output. Save and execute. Let me enter the same 5 and 6 again. So you can see that the output is coming correctly as 11. In short, the input function will always return the user input as a string, and if your intention is to use it as a number, you should always convert it into a number by using the int function. The same program can be again written in different ways. You don't need to use a second set of variables. Here you can directly override the same variables n1 and n2 with its integer values like we had done previously. Like n1 is equal to int of n1 and n2 is equal to int of n2, and add n1 plus n2, and let's see the output. 5 and 6, 11. Another way is, if you don't want the string version of the user input, but you always want the number version of the user input, then you don't even need to write it twice. You can combine these two lines together as I am writing below. So let me just comment out everything. So I'll be writing n1 is equal to input of display message, and directly you can convert that string into an integer by using the int here. So again you have to give a bracket here and give the same set of bracket at the end. So n1 is equal to int of input of this display message. Note down, this is the pair of your brackets for the input function and this is the pair of brackets for the int function. So this is equivalent to writing these two lines. N1 is equal to input of enter some message and N1 is equal to int of N1. And in the same way, you can write for N2 as well. N2 is equal to int of, then give input of some message. Enter your second number and sum is equal to N1 plus N2 and print out. And let's save and execute it. 5, 6. Output is coming correctly. So if this is confusing for you, you can always do it with two set of lines instead of one line like this. First N1 is equal to input enter of your first number, then N1 is equal to int of N. So that's the end of this lecture. So as a summary, the input function is used to accept an input from the user. When an input function is seen in the program, while execution, the program will wait until the user have pressed the enter key, and also it will return everything that the user have entered before the enter key as a string to the program. And thus, if your intention is to accept a number from the user, you should convert that string into a number by using the int function. Finally, you have reached the end of this course. In this course, you were introduced to the concepts of programming by starting with Python interactive mode and then moving to Python scripting mode. So you have learned about numbers, basic mathematical operations, strings and characters, about the usage of variables and their namings, the ways to save and execute Python programs in scripting mode, and finally you have learned about the ways to get input from the user by using the input function and display output to the user by using the print function. Definitely there will be a lot to learn in Python from this point onwards, and at this point programming might not look like so interesting for you and it's quite natural, but don't get disappointed. Go ahead and learn further. When you learn more and more features of programming and practice it, it will be more interesting for you. We will be publishing continuation courses for this course, and keep watching our website at joseph.academy. Thank you very much for enrolling and watching this course. Happy learning.